most difficult and yet important subjects that we will talk about is church discipline. And to understand church discipline, you need to understand church membership, responsibilities of membership. And we're going to talk about these at various stages. But there are certain things that need to happen before you can practice church discipline. Let me give you a scenario, and you think through how likely this might be in your church. So let's say that there's a member of your church who he and his wife, they don't say anything. They just one day announce that they're getting a divorce. There's been no allegation of adultery, but they move out. They say things like, we've not been happy for a long time. We've not really lived together as husband and wife for a long time. We're done. Right now, do you discipline for that? What do you do? What have you established a standard of discipline for divorce? Now, I'll tell you, most churches have not. If there's adultery, or there's clearly one party who's wrong, who abandons or something like that, that's one thing. But they both just say, we're done, we don't want to be married. On what grounds do you discipline? And what do you appeal to in order to discipline? So if you don't have a church covenant, if you don't have a standard of expectation, like the honoring of marriage vows, you really don't have a basis for church discipline. And this is where most churches find themselves. There are certain things that are clear, but there are so many like that it's wrong. Where do you draw the line? And in most of our churches, half our people have been married and divorced at one time or another. So that's an issue. How do we have a standard that we appeal to? And it needs to be something other than just say the Bible, because there are obviously different ways of understanding different scriptures, and there are people that believe that description is the same thing as making something normative, like polygamy in the Old Testament. So you really need to have a standard of conduct, behavior, expectation, and church covenant bylaws, something like that establishes it. Let's ratchet it up a little bit. What if you have a member, young, single guy, let's say 28 years old, and then you hear that he's moved in with a woman. He's living with a woman, and they're not married, and they're living together. And you go to him and you say, hey, Jim Bob, I hear that, you're living with a woman, and, you're living in sin. It's contrary to what our church teaches and believes. And I'm asking you to repent and move out. And he says, no, I won't do that. I'm happy with her, and I don't think we need a piece of paper to be right and anything, and I really don't care what you say. And you say, well, we're going to have to discipline you. And he says, on what basis? Well, you're living in sin. He said, well, why haven't you disciplined Billy Ray? Well, who's Billy Ray? Well, he's a member. Well, I don't know Billy Ray. You've been pastor 6 years. Billy Ray used to come all the time. He hadn't been for a long time, but he's still a member. He's been living with a woman for 2 years. You've not done anything. So really what you're just upset with me because I come. Here's somebody else who doesn't come, and you've not done anything about them. See, most of our churches have a much bigger membership roll than we have people who actually attend. And so for the most of them, if they are in sin, we don't know it. We don't have any clout by which we can get them to repent. We're not confronting them in their sin. And we're just sort of left asking them to not do it. There's no way we're consistent because we can only discipline the ones we know about. We've got this enormous roll with hundreds more people on the roll than we ever see in a given year. So we can't discipline consistently and effectively. So before we talk about church discipline, I want to talk to you about how to get your membership roll in shape. I tell you really need to do this every 4 or 5 years. Now, this is one of those things we're overdue at Buck Run. We did it once, and then in the building process, I put it off. We really need to do it again. And here's sort of the thing you face. How can you get your membership roll up to date where you as the shepherd know who the sheep are? That's really your issue. So whether you're a church and you have 120 in attendance and 400 on your roll, or you're a church with 1,200 in attendance and 4,000 on your roll, it's the same problem. And we all know that people join and we'll see them for 3-4 months and they drop out. Other people are joining. You forget. You don't even notice the people you don't notice, right? They've just sort of disappeared. The larger you get, the bigger that problem is. If we can get them in one of our small groups, we do a better job keeping up with them and knowing where they are. But if they're not in a small group, if they're what I call an SMO, Sunday morning only, we lose them. And when they drop out, it's hard to know. So eventually, you've got all these names on your roll and it happens fast over the course of years. You don't realize how fast time flies, and then you look and see, man, we're running 800 in church, and we've got 1,400 on our roll. So there's 600 people. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they are. They're just a name. What do you do? So I'm going to give you something right now. I have been paid thousands of dollars for. I've traveled all over the country doing consulting with churches, and I've given them this solution, and it always works. And I would love to tell you that I am so brilliant I came up with this, but there is one mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to unlace, and that's Adrian Rogers gave it to me. And he never did it. I was talking about this problem with him one day, and he said, I've had a plan. You do it at Ashland Avenue and tell me if it works. And I did it, and it worked. And I gave all the materials to Dr. Rogers, and he never did it at Bellevue. And it's still not been done at Bellevue as far as I know. I've done it once at Buck Run, but it's way overdue to be done again. And here's the thing. Let's just talk about what you're up against. What you fear is that you're going to alienate people and give up any opportunity to minister to them. Right? If you just pass a rule, and here's what most churches do if they deal with this at all, they just pass some rule where they say, okay, we're just going to chop off everybody who's not been for the last 6 months or whatever. Okay, now, do you honestly think that's a good way to shepherd people? I mean, it might take care of your role issue. You get your role a lot cleaner, but have you really shepherded those people? Have you made any effort? Have you left the 99 to go search for that one? So it's not just about getting your role in shape. It's about ministering to people. And that's your responsibility. So when I had this problem in Ashland Avenue, we were running about 500. We had 2,200 names on the roll. And one day, we had these big metal files with cards in them, some of them going back to the 1920s and 30s, handwritten. Some of them were done with typewriters. You see manual typewriters, you see IBM Selectrics. One day, going through it, I noticed there was a famous murderer in Lexington. I think he's still on death row in Eddyville. He's an old man now, but he had not been executed. And he had murdered a Taiwanese student at University of Kentucky, raped her, and then he murdered her. And I saw his name in our membership roll. And as a boy, he had come to Vacation Bible School. He made a profession of faith and got baptized. And I don't know if he was convicted of murder while I was youth pastor at Ashland Avenue. So I never knew him, but I remember his murder case because I was on the jury panel from which I was cut at the last cut. So I was like number 15 out of 12 jurors and 2 alternates. I was in the last cut. And so I knew his name and knew the case because I almost sat on the jury. And there was his name in our file. And I just thought, wow, we have failed in so many ways in that case. So how do you reach out to them and get them back? And what do you do? So here's the plan that Dr. Rogers gave me. Basically, you ask everybody on your membership roll if they still want to be a member. That's what it gets down to. You contact everybody and you explain to them church membership, and you tell them you want them to remain a member, but you want them to take their church membership seriously. And he said, you have a day, a designated day, some months in the future, and you call this Harvest Day. Call it whatever you want. By the way, the first Sunday of November is a great day to do it. It's Time Change Sunday, right? People get an extra hour sleep, and you get more people in church. Church attendance always inflates on that day. And if you say on this particular day, we're going to have Harvest Day or whatever you call it, we ask all members, everybody that wants to be a member, to bring your card. We're going to present our cards before the Lord, and we're going to reaffirm our commitment to the Lord and our covenant with one another. And you contact everybody, and you ask them to do that. And you tell them, in case you can't come on that day, if you would just send this card back in and let us know you still want to be a member. We'll be delighted to keep you as a member. And if you want to be a member, we will assign you to either Sunday school class or a community group, but some small group. You're going to automatically put them in. You're going to tell them that group will be contacting you and invite you, and all this. So you make it clear to them that what you're not asking them to do is merely sign a card. But you're asking them, and you explain church membership and its duties and responsibilities, and you put on the card something like, here's your 2 choices. Yes, I wish to remain a member of the Buck Run Baptist Church, and I will do my best to support the church with my presence and my finances, or something like that. Lets them know you expect them to show up and give. Or no, I no longer wish to be a member of Buck Run Baptist Church. And you just give them that, send them that card. Self-addressed, stamped envelope, or put that on the back of the card like it's a postcard. So if they won't bring it, they can just drop it in the mail to you. You send that to everybody for whom you have an address. And then you look and see who you can't find. So if there are people you can't find, they moved. Some of them you'll get back saying deceased. Some will have moved. You'll get forwarding addresses. Some will have moved. You have no address for. You take the ones you can't find, you make a list of them, put it up on the bulletin board at church, and ask everybody to go look and see if they can help you find any of these people. You make a big deal about your effort to reach everybody. You enlist your deacons. You give them a portion of these numbers of the people, or the names of people you can't find, and you assign them to reach them, to find them. You split up the duties, and you do everything you can to reach out to people and say, hey, we'd love you to remain a member. We want you to be a part. Here's the great stuff that's happening at our church. And you make it clear, your goal is not to get rid of people. Your goal is to reach people and include them. But you want people to take membership seriously. See, if you talk about role adjustment, if you talk about church discipline, getting rid of people who never come, I will tell you, your number one opposition in the church will be from people with adult children. And they live in fear of their kid being axed off the church and it turning them off the church. And you know as well as I do, if they're not coming to church, you taking them off the roll isn't the thing that keeps them from coming to church. I know that, you know that, but I also know that's the thing they'll say to their parents who are in church. Well, your church didn't even care about me. They just took my name off the roll. And that's what people are afraid of. So you have to come up with a way where you put the onus on them. They have to tell you they want to remain a member. And so when you present this plan to the church, you spell all this out. And you make it clear that this is about outreach and getting people back in and finding people. And you know what? You'll find some people, and they'll start coming again. And some people will tell you, no, I no longer want to be a member, and it will hurt you and grieve you because they used to be faithful. If they say no, you just put them on your prospect list. That doesn't mean you give up on them, but it just means they're no longer members. If they say yes, now you just stay after them. You invite them to Sunday school or small groups or whatever you do. And just put them on your email list and keep up with them. But make it clear that nothing is happening to anybody that they themselves don't determine. See, this is not discipline. This is role adjustment, and you call it that. And you make a big deal out of that harvest day. We're going to all come and present ourselves before the Lord, reaffirm our membership. We're going to say membership matters. We're making a commitment to each other. So I don't know, Matt, is all that, if we put that up, have I given you that to put up on the website yet? So I've got stuff like I used at Ashland Avenue, and I'll put it up there. You can reword it, rework it. It's old stuff, but you'll get the idea. And nothing happens that no one determines themselves. Either they want to be a member or they don't. And we made it clear, if we just couldn't find anybody, if there's somebody we can't find, we're going to remove them. If they ever show back up and they say, hey, I still want to be a member. Okay, we'll put you back on. But they got to show up. They got to let you know. So the default is we're going to do what you say to do. But if we can't find anybody, we're just removing them until we do find them and until we hear from them. And it's really no different than someone reaffirming their membership at some point. So once you do that, now you've got a plumb line. All right, now you know who you're accountable for. Now you've got people, they've agreed to the basics of membership. You could also, at that time, affirm a new church covenant, commitment to one another. We want to take our membership seriously. And I will tell you what happened at Ashland Avenue. Our attendance jumped from 500 to about 700, 750. We got people back that I hadn't seen for years. They started coming again. There were a few people who made the decision not to reaffirm, uh, and people that had dropped out, and we just kept bugging them. Some of them we eventually got back to. What I would urge you not to do, though, is don't make it about signing that card. There are a few old people, like there were at Ashland Avenue, these people that were against any kind of a pledge, any kind of a vow. Somebody somewhere preached a revival service and told them that was bad. And that's the one thing they heard. And they would not sign it. But look, they're there every week. Am I going to take a guy off the roll because he won't sign that card when I see him at church every week and he's a tither? I'm not going to do that. So we just put in there that if somebody just they just didn't sign it, but we see them, they come regularly, we're not going to remove them. We're going to keep them. So make it not about signing the card so much as their presence, their affirmation, and their commitment to the Lord and to the church. Be careful to explain to them the gospel. Do you know for certain you have eternal life? And do you know that you were scripturally baptized as a believer? You explain all that in your letter or in your personal one-on-one. If you don't hear from somebody, we would send a registered letter. Like if they just didn't respond, but we know they got our letter, we just stayed after them until we heard from them, or eventually we took them off and said, well, we let them know, if you ever want to come back, we want you back. So we bent over backwards to make sure people knew we wanted them. We're not trying to get rid of you, we're trying to get you back. But if you won't come back, we're not going to just pretend you're a member by keeping your name on the roll. We said it nicer than that, but that's what we said. And our attendance really went up, never went back. I think it was a major thing. We did it at Buck Run. It's been probably 9 years now, so we're overdue doing it. But it really does work, and I think it helps you know who you minister to. Once you do that, then you can practice church discipline. Questions about the role adjustment thing before I go into church discipline? Anybody? Make sense to you? Go to Mike.
What do you do regarding maybe the single mother who's working 3 jobs and can't be there on those Sundays, or for those community groups, but they want to be part of the church body?
Again, I'm going to do what she wants to do. I'm going to do everything I can to include her, and she would be assigned to a community group, and we'd tell them to minister to her, to take care of her, to let her make sure she feels connected and in. And we do everything we can to come along beside her. She wants to be a part of this fellowship. We want her to be a part of this fellowship. Yeah, and her circumstances will eventually change one way or the other. If nothing else, her kids are going to grow up. And, that's the kind of people that need us the most. So I'm not going to do anything to get rid of her because she can't come. I will tell you, in all that, we only had one negative response, and it was from a non-member. It was from the niece of a member. So we had an address for a woman in Florida. Sent her the letter. Turns out that address was a nursing home. So this lady was in a nursing home in Florida. But of course, it says, let us know. Again, it doesn't say, the letter's not fussy in tone. Just, hey, we want you. We want to know where you are. We want to know if you still want to be a member. And I think it even said something, if you're shut in, we'd like to know know that so we can minister to you. And the niece of this woman called me, and buddy, she just blasted me. How dare you do this? And I said, I don't understand your objection. all we needed to know was where your aunt is and that she still wants to be a member. And I've got friends in that town that I can have help care for her. She wants to remain a member of Ashland Avenue until she dies. I want to be a pastor until she dies. So that was an outlier, but again, it's hard. I don't even think that was a legitimate gripe because she must not have read it. I don't know. The aunt must have characterized it somehow. And all she had to do was send that card in and say, "Yeah, I'm in a nursing home. Please pray for me. I still want to be on the roll." Okay, we're glad to accommodate shut-ins. People that have extenuating circumstances, we get, and we want to help them.